my day now.
Look at this beauty. Anytime a man shows up wearing this hat, he's got stories to tell.
All right, everybody, so here we are by the middle of August, and we are still trying to utilize all of the deer meat in the freezer because the hunting season is close in upon us. And we are going to make one of my childhood favorites, chopped steak with gravy. So I've got my venison that was ground. It's about a 70% venison to 30% beef tallow. So it's already got the fat added to it. You didn't need to add any beef. You didn't need to add any pork. This was how we had it ground to begin with. So all I've added, very simple, Marsh's tomato seasoning, which will be brought to market very soon. Italian breadcrumbs, 2 eggs. I'm just gonna add these ingredients, mix them in there well, and we will show you the process for making the patties and getting everything ready. Just follow along. So we're just mixing up the meat with all the ingredients and kind of getting a consistency of it. Every now and then I'll get a little extra water if I think I need, just to give the meat the consistency that I want it to have. I don't want to just pour the water in it and then I don't need it, but I'll just dip my hands in it, and the meat is pretty firm, you know, and you add the breadcrumbs and the eggs and everything kind of firms it up. Well, you want this meat to be malleable enough without over mixing it that you can form it into patties easily enough. So right before I'm finished mixing, I've mixed it up most of the way, I'm gonna add some Worcestershire sauce to it. Probably a total of about 3 tablespoons. Now, we started with 4 pounds of ground venison. So the only ingredients in here are the Marsh's tomato seasoning, the 2 eggs, about a quarter or a half a cup, depending on the fat consistency of the meat, of the breadcrumbs, and salt. That's all that's in here. So now we'll just take out a pile of it, put it on this sheet of parchment paper, put another sheet on top of it. We will flatten it down and take the old trusty rolling pin, just roll it on out to the edges. This is as close as I get to baking. I'm not allowed to use the oven at home. So we just take our old biscuit cutter, we go and we cut the steaks out of it. That way they're gonna all be nice and even, cook evenly. I'm not gonna have one kid arguing with the other that they've got a bigger one than they do. Get all of these cut up, all 4 pounds of this meat, and then we'll show you the next step. Okay, so all of the ingredients. We made our patties, I showed you how to make that. We've got 1 sliced and chopped onion, purple onion, and then we have 3 whole scallions and 4 cloves of garlic finely chopped. 2 sticks of butter, that's going to be to make our roux. The flour is for the roux. These are the ingredients that we used in the patties themselves. You guys already saw that. A little bit of salt in case we need to add it to the gravy after the roux is made, and we should be ready to go. So we're gonna get this pan heating up and we'll show you the next couple of steps. Okay, so we have our pan heating up. We're gonna put a little bit of pecan oil in the bottom of it. I wanna coat the bottom of this pan. It is a cast iron pan and it won't stick much, but we are gonna make a roux, so we'll need some oil anyway. Now, once this comes to temperature, we'll start putting our patties in it. We'll brown both sides of the patties. We'll take them all out. Once every one of them is browned and pretty much cooked, they'll be taken out, put on a platter on the side, and then we will put the onions and everything in there and make a roux all at the same time. Butter, everything, it'll all go in there. We'll make the roux, get it nice and dark, get everything cooked down well, put the patties back in there in the gravy, and then just let them finish cooking. They'll absorb some of that gravy flavor, and we'll just let this cook on a low heat for a couple hours and then be ready to serve. All right, so the pot's gotten good and hot. We're gonna start placing our steak burgers in here. As I said, we're gonna brown all of them good on both sides, and we'll take them out of the pot and make sure we get all of them done. They'll sit on the side in the platter. We'll make our roux and then put them back in it. Okay, so we got all of the little steaks browned. Now we're just gonna put our onions and shallots and garlic all in to the pot. We're gonna let that cook down for a little bit. The moisture out of these vegetables will help to loosen up some of the, what we would call gratin down at the bottom of the pot here. So we're just gonna cook this for a minute until you can really get the aromatics out of the garlic. Once you smell that, you can kind of know that you're getting where you're going. Once the bottom of your pot is relatively clean, then you've gotten the benefit of these. Now I'm gonna add 2 sticks of butter to this. So once this butter melts down and it starts to cook out some of its liquids in it, now butter does have some water in it, so once it cooks that out, you'll see it, it'll bubble up in it, it'll boil out of it. I will add the flour to it. We'll make the roux with the vegetables already in it, and everything will turn nice and dark. We'll put the steaks back in it and we'll finish them up. Okay, so you can see the butter is cooking down pretty well. Everything's brown, and if you look, you can see how clean the bottom of the pot is. So we've deglazed the entire bottom of the pot, and 1 stick of butter is half a cup. So your traditional roux is equal parts flour and equal parts oil. So that would be 1 cup since I put 2 sticks of butter in it. But we had put oil in here prior to that. Also, we have some of the fat that came from the beef. So I'm putting in 1 1/4 cups of flour to make this roux. So we're just gonna stir it around. We're gonna cook this for a little while, get it nice and dark, and then we'll add the patties back to it, and we'll add some water to it, thin it out, give it some room to cook. Once it all cooks down well, the little steak should be ready to go. Okay, so our roux has gotten nice and dark. We're gonna add all of our patties back. We'll just take them and place them around in the pot. We've got plenty of them. In hindsight, maybe I should have made them a little bigger and had fewer of them, but these are going to work out just fine. Now you have to remember, your venison is going to be tougher than beef, even if it's ground venison. Even ground venison gets tough. So cook these low and slow and just get them all where they have that time to loosen up and become nice and tender. Okay, so we've got everything added to the pot. We're gonna add a little water. Remember, I want to give this gravy room to cook for quite some time while these little steaks get nice and tender. All right, so everybody's in the tub. We're gonna put the lid on and crack it just a little bit. Turn the heat down to medium low, and we're gonna let them cook for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. Come back and we'll check on them. Just walk away from the pot at this point. A lot of you guys like to mess with the pot and just constantly keep stirring. Well, all you do is break up your patties, end up with crumbled up meat in there. Just let them cook. They'll stay together, but they'll get where they're loose enough that they're a tender patty for you to eat. So come back in a bit. Okay, so all of the steaks have been cooking in the gravy for about an hour and a half. They should all be good and tender now. You can see the consistency of the gravy's gotten a little thicker. So I made some mashed potatoes to go with it. I guess everybody's got a recipe for that themselves. Just put a little gravy. Get yourself a couple of these little steaks to put on there. And there you go. Using up the rest of the venison before the deer season starts. Not a bad way to do it.